Hello, I'm Frank with Golden Coast Mead, and we get to make mead today. We're going to be using some of Dan's knapweed honey from his grass-fed homestead, and we are stoked. We got to taste this a couple days ago, and it's like caramel and flan and creme brulee, and so we hope that when we make the mead, all those characters will come out. It'll come out at about 12% ABV, so it'll be this bright, complex and beautiful drink that represents all the good things that he's doing up at the ranch. So, amen. So we're gonna make mead today, and in order to make mead, we need honey, we need water, and we need yeast. So we've got those things. Just about there. 42C. 43C. Alright, so we want that to cool down a little bit, but
they're gonna eat the water.
The water is part of where they live, yep. But they're gonna eat the powder that we stir into the water here. Alright, temp's dropping, that's good. Nutrient. This is GoFerm. So GoFerm is basically dried yeast cells plus some essential vitamins that they need to build strong cell walls when they wake back up and start to reproduce. So we'll let that cool down a little bit, and then we'll drop the yeast in there. And right now I'm going to add the yeast to our nutrient-rich rehydration water that's at the right temp. This little yeast will be like trillions of yeast cells when they're up and fermenting. Pretty wild. Actually, sorry, hundreds of billions. It's when we do the big batches that we hit the trillions. So here it goes. Wake up, little yeasties, and be happy. It'll take about 20 minutes for these guys to rehydrate. So I'm putting them into this rehydration bath where we've poured some Fermaid-O, which is a rehydration nutrient. So as the yeast come out of stasis and their kind of dried, frozen sleep, they'll have something good to eat that helps them get off to the right foot when we put them to the arduous task of turning honey into alcohol. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, start your timers. We got 20 minutes on the clock. And cool. Alright. Next step will be sanitizing our equipment. So this is a quick step. We've already got proxy in this 5-gallon, 20-liter carboy. So we're gonna pour that into this bucket. It's gonna sanitize our already clean. Come on, baby. Trying to get that vortex going. Voila. All right. So this guy has been primarily cleaned. We need to use a no rinse sanitizer on it next. These guys are soaking. It's a nice big funnel and a little funnel for adding the yeast. This will be for adding the honey water must mix into the carboy. And then this bucket will be for doing our yeast addition, or excuse me, our honey and water stirring. So I'll get a spoon to sanitize, and then once that's good, we'll rinse it with iodine, because iodine's a no-rinse sanitizer. And we'll rinse that with iodine, and we'll be ready to go. And iodine. All right, well, it's diluted iodine. So this guy's soaking, and it's about done. So we're gonna just rinse the proxy off of our equipment. So we're just rinsing the proxy off of the equipment and trying to keep it clean. So there's a difference between cleaning, sanitizing, and sterilizing. Sterilizing is really impractical, but it's basically killing like 99.9999% of the microbes. Sanitizing is much easier, and it's like killing 99.99% of the microbes. So, with sanitizing, we've really got a leg up on any foreign contaminants that might be on the equipment or even in the honey, because we're going to be adding so many yeast cells that they basically get such a head start that they outcompete and kill everything that would potentially spoil our mead. Now, there is a whole realm of wild fermentation mead research to be done, which is pretty exciting. But that's advanced mead making, and we're just doing some pretty straightforward mead making today. After we've rinsed with a caustic, in this case we use proxy, but you can use bleach. You want to then rinse with a no rinse sanitizer. So what we're going to use today is iodifur, which is an iodine-based sanitizer, no rinse sanitizer. It's nice and affordable and easy to get at your local homebrew store. You can see the yeast is starting to activate, it's starting to bubble up and get all excited already. We've got about 10 minutes left on the rehydration and it's looking happy, so that's good. All right, so the next step, we've got a sanitized bucket. We're gonna measure out 4 gallons of water. It's actually a little easier to just like measure out 1.5 to 2 gallons, add all the honey, and then top it off to 4. So you can really stir it up at 2 gallons and then add the honey up, or the water, up to 5, and then pour it into the carboy. This is spring water from our local spring, Palomar Mountain. I'm gonna truck down here. Spring water on tap. And we'll start to add this awesome honey.
Yummy.
Yeah. To the water. We're using 12 pounds of honey in this batch because our desired outcome is 12% ABV, and we're making 5 gallons. So 12 pounds is typically 1 gallon of honey. It depends on the density of the honey and the sugar content, but with this ratio, we have the chance to make a 12% ABV mead. If you want a higher ABV mead, then you start with more honey. If you want a lower ABV mead, then you start with less honey. The trade-off is that you get a reduction in mouthfeel if you use less honey, and it can get so thin that it can be kind of watery. So we like to work at this 12% ABV, 1 to 4 parts honey to water ratio. But there's a lot of room for experimentation, and we've got some promising initial batches with less honey and lower ABV, but still plenty of mouthfeel. The bees have to visit 2 million flowers on average to make a pound of honey. So one of these 3-pounders here, 6 million flowers. So there'll be 24 million flower visits in this batch. So when you convert that to bottles, depending on the size of the bottle, it's like 1 million flowers in a 750 milliliter bottle, which means a glass of mead is like 200,000 flowers, and a sip is like 10,000 flowers in one sip. So pretty magical. So you kind of want to scoop it up from the bottom and really get it going in a circle. Right now it's really thick on the bottom, so I want to get it up off the bottom. So it's important to get it as homogenized or consistent as possible, because we'll be measuring the bricks content, and we want it to be representative of the actual mix. Now we're going to put some more water in here. We're going to fill it up to 5 gallons. One gallon of honey, 4 gallons of water. So we're going to take a brick sample now, because it's just honey and water, to make sure that we're hitting our 23 bricks, which is % residual sugar. 23 bricks will translate to about 12% ABV. And then I've got 4 grams of Fermaid-O, which we're going to add, and then we're going to add the yeast. All right, so this is our wine thief. go ahead and sanitize it really quickly. So a lot of people see us make mead and see how straightforward it is. And it is a lot more straightforward than brew day for beer making. But with mead, you really got to pay attention to the fermentation. With beer, you kind of get to let it rip. With mead, you really want to make sure that your yeast are doing what they want and you're keeping them happy. Because if they start to go into their unhappy zone, they really quickly make off flavors and they're really noticeable in mead. So while the brew day is easier, the fermentation process is much more demanding.
Ooh. Did that taste good?
It did. So I'm taking a sample right now to measure the specific gravity of the amount of sugar, and it really does taste like vomit. Our Brix is hitting, let's see, 21.2. So right where the meniscus is. This is a hydrometer. A hydrometer is a device that measures the specific gravity, the density of a liquid relative to water. So it's a cool glass thing with a weight in the bottom, and then when you put it into a liquid, it finds its level and it's measured out to show us the percent of sugar that's in that liquid. So there's about 21.2% sugar in this must, which is good. That'll get us around 10% ABV. We want to kick it up to 12, so we're going to add the rest of the honey that is settled to the bottom of the jugs over there. Yeah, we did here. Cool, much better. All right, 22.8. Cool, so we're calling that good. Our target was 23. This also aerates it. Alright, not bad, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, now we get to add the yeast. This is the magical, mystical step here. This is where before we knew what yeast was, people would hang a stick in the house where they made the mead or the beer. They would just collect all the microbes that were around, and they'd dip the stick in every batch, and it would collect the old batches microbes and then add the ones that just hang out in the air, because yeast is just a fungus that floats around in the air. So before we knew what yeast was, which was only like 100 years ago with Louis Pasteur, we used to call yeast God is good, and it would transform things. So let's see here. Here it goes. Do your work, little yeasties. Be fruitful and multiply. This is Fermaid-O, which is an organic yeast nutrient made of dead yeast. And should have added it before the yeast, but it's alright. So this is an airlock. It is a device that will sanitize and then put into the carboy. It'll prevent oxygen from getting in and allow the CO2 to escape. So we're going to fill that with liquid about halfway, and then the CO2 bubbles will come out, and it'll create a barrier for oxygen that would come in and spoil the fermentation. Voila! Mead is underway. So the next couple days, we'll be adding nutrient and aeration to it to help the yeast that are transforming from reproducers to sugar consumers and alcohol producers. We want to help them build strong cell walls so they're nice and healthy and clean. And then by day 4, we kind of set the temp and let it do its thing. We'll monitor it every other day to make sure that it's going down the curve that we want to see, the fermentation curve. And then hopefully in about 6 weeks it'll be finished, and we'll either cold crash it and let everything settle, or we'll filter it, and then we'll have some tasty mead. Tomorrow there should be a bit of a foamy head on it, not too much, not too crazy. It's just in reproduction phase primarily right now. Then 2 days from now, it should start to really bubble. There should be a lot of activity. And then for the next week after that, you should see a ton of CO2 production going on. And you should see your sugar content dropping significantly, like 1 to 2 points a day. Then after about a week of that, it starts to taper off. If this is sugar content and this is time, and we're at day 0 here where sugar is 23, then on day 1 it should stay about 23, but then day 2 it should drop down to like 20, 21, then day 3, 19, day 4, 17, day 5, 15, day 6, 13, day 7, 11, then it starts to taper off to like 1 brix a day. So now that steep curve is gonna start to flatten out a little bit here, and we're gonna go to like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then around 3 it starts to go like a half brix a day. But on back here, so day 1, we want to add some nutrient and aeration in the form of Fermaid-K and Fermaid-O, and then day 2 more Fermaid-K and Fermaid-O, and then day 3 more, but a little bit less in each day. So that's called staggered nutrient addition. And we're also aerating, we're stirring during that point to release CO2 and introduce oxygen, but you stop doing that after day 3, because if you add oxygen after day 3, there's a chance that you're going to oxidize your mead. 22.8 brix. So there's different ways to get bubbles. There's forced carbonation and then natural carbonation. And forced carbonation, you basically need a corny keg and a CO2 setup, and then you just carbonate it like you would a natural soda. You just put CO2 on it, chill it down, find the right balance between pressure and temperature, and then you'll get the right amount of bubbly that you want. That forced carbonation changes the feel of the bubbles, the mouth feel, the density of them, the intensity of them. So natural carbonation is a much finer bubble, more mousse-like, and there's kind of 2 ways to do that. You can either start to bottle and let it carbonate in the bottle, which is kind of the method champenois, or you can let it carbonate in the bulk container and then bottle it under pressure to keep those bubbles in that solution. Both of them are kind of hard to do at home, but for those that are inclined to do so, it's worth it, I think. It makes the mead much lighter and more refreshing and balanced.
This is mead! This is